Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the official home of power mining analysis. Well, just like that, Bitcoin is back above $82,000. Obviously, this is providing some life into the Bitcoin mining stocks as well, seeing a nice bounce on both the Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining front in today's trading. In addition to that, we got some very encouraging news out of CoreWeave last night and some updates from a few of the miners we wanted to discuss in today's video. Before we get into it, take a second, smash the like button, you guys. We could really use the love right now. If you're not subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to join and let us know in the comment section below if you've given up on the Bitcoin mining space, if you're continuing to buy, and what your strategy is moving through the remainder of 2025. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. All right, guys, so Tuesday afternoon, what a reversal we've seen in the market today, Anthony, not only in the price of Bitcoin, which we're going to talk about, but the miners as well. This is exactly why we love this sector so much. Highly volatile, highly exciting, and things can turn around really in the blink of an eye. So yesterday, Anthony, we saw Bitcoin retreating heavily under pressure. We talked about freedom by 40s. Estimation in the $75,000, $78,000 range. The lowest I personally saw Bitcoin was just shy of $77,000 in the $76,000 range. I posted this on Twitter in my Patreon. I said, I think the bottom is in. And pretty much from there, Anthony, we saw a strong bullish move in the price of Bitcoin. I said in the intro, surpassing 82,000. We're now above 83,000 as we record. And this is exactly what you talk about in terms of volatility.
Yeah, this is Bitcoin doing Bitcoin. But bear in mind, we stressed yesterday and on a few previous podcasts that, you've got to remember, Bitcoin does take account of what's going on in the market out there because people are investing in buying Bitcoin. And if they don't like what they see on the news with regards to tariffs, with regards to wars, with regards to inflation, with regards to debt, all these things can make people change their decisions and move to more safer, less volatile asset classes, maybe keeping it in the bank, for instance. So we've seen the pullback from reaching the high in December. And yesterday, getting 76,000, that's nearly a 40% reduction just in the space of 3 months. Today's a great day, and we live for these days. Bitcoin's now currently above 83,000, so a nice rise today. Some of the other crypto stocks also very much green today as well. So very much wanted. Considering where we've gone, even in the last sort of 5 or 6 days, it was 92,000 when we left New York, and just to see it today, even at 83,000, knowing it's risen by nearly 7%, still means that we're still quite a bit down on where we were just a week ago.
Still down, but not out. And the nice thing with this, Anthony, this bounce in Bitcoin price, obviously the end of March is the end of Q1. For any of the FASB hodlers, this is going to be a big determination in terms of how the Bitcoin price ends this month. So great to see some movement in the right direction, a bit of life in the sector. Also worth noting, and again, you and I don't cover a lot of technical analysis on the channel, but if you look at some of the technical indicators, moving average specifically, Bitcoin essentially bounced right off that 200-day moving average quite strongly during yesterday's trading. So good to see that support level holding. Time will tell if it continues to hold or not, but encouraging to see some life there. The other sector we're seeing some life is the Bitcoin miners, Anthony. I had to take the screenshot probably 4 or 5 times here to keep up. We're seeing tremendous amount of green shoots, as you like to say, on the board here today, really trying to make up for some of those losses yesterday.
Yeah, pretty much majority of the miners are in the green now. I think with the exception of Soluna, who are a couple of percent below, but Gryphon having a great day. Bit Digital also having a great day, and Core Scientific recovering. We'll talk a bit more about them in a second, but yeah, green day across the board. MicroStrategy also up 8%. Bear in mind, MicroStrategy is more than 50% down from its 52-week high where it achieved $543. So currently at, just below $260 a share. But yeah, IREN, Bitdeer, all making good gains today. So really good positions for some of these miners, and also good volumes as well. Looking at Core Scientific, 18 million shares. CleanSpark at 16 million shares. Market's only been open, 2 or 3 hours at the moment. So good progress today. Let's hope it can stay that way and keep getting some of these gains back that we lost last week.
Most definitely. Now, you mentioned Core Scientific, Anthony. Where are they trading right now on your screen?
Core Scientific at the moment, smidging below $9 a share, about $8.65 at the moment.
And you'll see on the tweet there, a big reversal during yesterday's trading. They were down in the $6.82 range. About halfway through the day, you can see a clear spike on the chart, managing to finish the day up 3%. And as you said today, Anthony, continuing to trade on that strength. That was really on the back of some great news. Again, welcome news we got last night from CoreWeave in relation to OpenAI. So we had covered some news or suspected news last week about CoreWeave and the potential of Microsoft pulling back on some of those contracts. That had some implied risk towards Core Scientific, which is obviously fulfilling a lot of those contracts. We had talked about on that podcast, I specifically said Microsoft is not the only client out there. We had talked about the access to power, the backlog. I think you said 28 gigawatts, Anthony, expected in the United States. OpenAI has come along and said, hey, you know what? We're happy to take that power off your hands, and we'll give you about $12 billion to do so. This breathing a lot of confidence and strength back into the CoreWeave Core Scientific contract as well.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, the price going all the way back down to lower than $7 a share. I mean, we've talked, even if you look at just the Bitcoin mining business alone, and when those new chips come in, that's going to be valued at around about the market capitalization today. So no real valuation based on the CoreWeave deal, showing evident in the Core Scientific share price as we see today. But this news story that came out yesterday certainly put some impetus in that share price, and we saw a lot of people buying on that news. And the share price, as I say, today is about 33% higher than it was when it was at its low yesterday. So a good result there. Totally unexpected drop for Core Scientific. The deal, with 590 megawatts with CoreWeave, isn't the sort of deal that's in jeopardy. CoreWeave already spent a considerable amount in getting some of these sites ready for hosting later this year. So, and the shortfall we've heard from not just one miner, from multiple miners, the fact that there is a massive shortfall in power and sites that can deliver HPC and AI, and having that ability to do that puts Core Scientific in a really pole position compared to other miners. They've got the ability to produce data centers, and they can also manage these big contracts because they've been doing this for a number of years now. So good to see that the share price rally. We still need to, obviously, it's still probably close to half the amount it was at its high earlier in the year, but we expect that trajectory to continue up there now as more and more information comes out with this deal with OpenAI and subsequent deals that CoreWeave will have with other potential clients.
Yeah, that's some great commentary. And it's important to note, Anthony, this CoreWeave Core Scientific agreement or partnership has been going on for years. And as you say, it's difficult for these hyperscalers to access power. It's even more difficult to find teams who are able to convert that power into the type of data center infrastructure they need, which is exactly why we've only really seen this one or two big contracts here out of the Bitcoin mining group over the last 16, 18 months. Now, you can see clearly this OpenAI announcement made headlines across the internet yesterday. This is really an extension of the Stargate news or announcement we talked about earlier in the month, Anthony. So I'll throw up some of the highlights for this OpenAI CoreWeave contract. But as you can see here, we're talking some big numbers really in support of Trump's initiative to invest up to $500 billion in AI infrastructure in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he was committing 100 million. Sorry, Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he was committing initial $100 billion investment, and this deal now with CoreWeave represents probably about just over 10% of that initial investment there. So really, really positive, news story today and yesterday, getting that share price back to where it's sort of like in the direction it needs to be. I know a lot of people out there are very keen to see the Core Scientific pull this one off and open the gates for other mining companies to come in and also follow suit and offer these big hosting contracts to potential clients.
Yeah, and when you start to look at the market caps of these miners, Anthony, you think about the funnel, Stargate, 500 billion. Okay, OpenAI gets 100 billion of that. Great. CoreWeave gets 12 billion of that. Then you start to talk about the Core Scientific portion or their agreement with CoreWeave. Then you look at the market cap of Core Scientific, and that's where you and I, for anyone in our Patreon groups, you'll see we've been taking advantage of this pullback. But as we talk about this volatility, you guys, is a gift for anyone that's got the long-term conviction in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. This was another great example of that. Another thing we wanted to mention, Anthony, we kicked this can around yesterday talking about Bitcoin miners not operating in a vacuum. I brought along a chart today of the NASDAQ and the QQQ, so the top 100. We know that Michael Saylor and Strategy just were admitted into that QQQ indice. These ones are off their highs tremendously over the last few months as well. So I did want to bring that up. This is not a unique problem to Bitcoin or Bitcoin miners specifically. This is a global concern about recession, trade tariffs, trade wars, and we're seeing a lot of this rhetoric in the news right now.
Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now.
Yeah, and clearly the chart shows that since February the 19th, when this QQQ chart was at $540. It's now pulled back to $470. That's a drop of 13-14% in that short period of time. These are the sort of like other factors that based on why Bitcoin has been dropping as well. It's not isolated. We're talking about global macroeconomic issues around the world within the US, and until some of these get resolved, there'll be still that same amount of uncertainty.
Yeah, we know the market does not like uncertainty. Another piece of news that came out recently was the DeepSeek announcement. Now, we called this FUD right out of the gate, Anthony. We said, no way is this going to be bad for the Bitcoin miners. Again, we haven't heard a lot of negatives there, but one positive to come out of the situation that we actually talked about last week was Soluna Holdings taking advantage of DeepSeek R1 and partnering to launch that in North America. Speaking of Soluna, they've now come out with their production report for the month of February as well, and we wanted to take a look at those numbers.
Yeah, so you're quite right. We've covered on the channel before the deal with Soluna and the Soluna Cloud, an Atlas Cloud with the new DeepSeek offering. This is just one of the many projects that Soluna are sort of working towards at the moment in their HPC space. But today we saw update for February come out, and this was more about the Bitcoin mining side. So in terms of Bitcoin mine for February, Soluna were able to maintain that level they achieved in January, albeit it was 3 days less. So they managed to mine 10 Bitcoin again, the same as they did in the previous month. The total operational hash rate was 701 petahash. which was more than 10% higher than they achieved in January, which therefore enabled them to maintain that level of mining in correlation with what they achieved in January. The hosting hash rate also increased. Now, we've talked about Soluna having a recent deal with Bit Digital, and they increased that deal. So that would account for some of that change there. It's a very good deal with Bit Digital. I think they've got something like 12 megawatts now supporting Bit Digital, and maybe likely to grow further as Bit Digital expand their Bitcoin mining. They're at 1.6 exahash the last time they released an update, and they're looking to get to 3 exahash by the end of the year. So we'll pay close attention to that as we go forward. In terms of efficiency, 26 joules a terahash, which is probably, maybe an average efficiency rate across the mining spectrum there. We know some of the miners are operating at 30 or just above 30, but then you've got the likes of IREN operating at 15. So 26, room for improvement there. And, as more efficient miners come to the market, hopefully Soluna can start installing some of those and get that efficiency down, because that will reduce the cost of energy and therefore give them a better margin on their Bitcoin mining. They don't hodl, so they sell their Bitcoin on a daily basis. And, so, that's their Bitcoin mine. But remember, Bitcoin mine from Soluna's perspective is probably a very small part of the business. They have an enormous amount of projects on the go at the moment. And we had John Belazaire, the CEO, on the podcast recently, and he was also talking very well about the interconnection for Project Dorothy 1A, which went really well, completed in January with minimal curtailments, considering, the timing of the year and the weather conditions that have previously persisted. Dorothy 1A deployments are nearing conclusion, with 2 megawatts of S21s having been received, and they're being deployed as well. And then we've talked about Dorothy 2 before. So Dorothy 2, 48 megawatts of Bitcoin hosting, that's under construction. All the requirements have been completed for ERCOT, and they are due to energize 50 megawatts at that site there. 48 will be used for hosting, 2 megawatts for AI and cloud hosting. So 2 separate businesses on the same site there. And they've got a number of other businesses that they're currently rolling out with this massive pipeline of energy. So, we've talked before about Project Catty, the latest one, Project Rosa. These are big, 150, 160 plus megawatts in these projects there. And we'll give you more of an update as we see more information come out from them.
Yeah, appreciate the detail, Anthony. And I've thrown up the projects on the screen there. You can see the amount of work the team has going on, John and the group at Soluna Holdings. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up, Anthony, we just finished up an interview with Compass Mining, Curtis Harris. We ran into him in New York. All 3 of us listened to Fred Thiel talk about the Bitcoin mining industry and sector over the next few years. And he was very adamant about getting behind the meter, partnering with stranded renewable resource companies. We've seen a number of players now come into Alberta for stranded natural gas, partnering with wind farms, purchasing wind farms. This is a strategy that John Belazaire and Soluna have been pursuing since I can remember talking about the company. So I wanted to get your opinion, as one of these smaller miners seems to really be setting the tone and the pace for some of the largest players in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. They haven't got the capital that other miners have got there, and because of their size in terms of market capitalization, they're not able to grow capital even through sort of like an ATM or a dilution at the same level as others have achieved. I mean, some of these big miners were able to raise, $500 million by selling shares over, say, a 2 or 3 month period. Unfortunately, Soluna don't have that level of market capitalization. So what they do is they do things slightly differently. They go out there, they source the land, they source the power, and they put together these projects and then seek an investor into the project themselves. And these investors will come in, look at the project, look at the potential revenue streams from the project, and these projects will be done on a profit share with Soluna. So Soluna get paid from the back end of the project themselves, and they've come up with 6 or 7 of these projects, all sort of starting to grow in size and stature. And hopefully this is a way that they can grow themselves, because the challenge we've said many times, not just about Soluna, but about 5 or 6 of the miners now that are in that sort of bracket where the market capitalization doesn't warrant them growing to the next level in the time frame that other miners have managed to achieve it. You have to take your hats off to the likes of CleanSpark and IREN in recent years who've utilized that ATM really, really well and grown, 5, 6, 7x in terms of market capitalization. Some of the miners that haven't managed to take benefit of that are still in that under $100 million range, and to grow even to say $200 million, by growing the company twice as much now it's still a challenge to do, because if you're going to sell shares, you'd have to sell 100% of the shares in the company to grow it, effectively, double the amount. So that's the real issue. And Soluna being at the market cap they are, it's an even bigger issue. But I like what they're doing here. These smaller projects, although on face value, when you've got a project there with 166 megawatts, that's quite significant. I mean, we've seen Bitdeer's projects where they're opening some sites, and some of their sites are 150, 160, 200 megawatts. So to hear Soluna talking the same levels as that there means they're doing something right, and hopefully the market will start giving them some credibility as we see the revenue streams start to come in for some of these sites as they roll out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And some help or strength with Bitcoin price obviously wouldn't hurt the mining sector. Bitcoin now up just about 5.5%, Anthony. It won't take many more of these days for maybe a few of the top leaders in Miner Madness 2.0 to flip into the green territory for the Q1 competition.
No, absolutely. I mean, the competition's going really well. We've only got a few weeks left now of the second competition. Obviously, everybody in the competition is still lower than their initial investment of $300. Their notional investment, which they were allowed to put into 3 mining companies. I actually, at one point yesterday, I was in first place in the overall competition. Today, I'm back down into third, but I'm still leading the analyst table. So, a couple of weeks to go. But bear in mind, a week in this space can be massively different. I looked earlier today at the leaderboard, and those analysts leading a couple of weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, are now sort of towards the back end of the competition. So, Sam and Agrippa Investment, I think, in the sort of 230 range, well, they were 5th or 6th, 10 days ago. So I'm not counting any chickens before they hatch. I mean, third at the moment sounds really good in the competition, but that can change massively. And today's rise for some of these miners, I haven't got Bit Digital or Core Scientific, and they're double-digit gains as we highlighted earlier on there. So there's plenty of movement to go, but it's a great lot of fun, and people have been making every effort to get to the website to see where their position is in the actual competition. So good fun all round.
Certainly is, and very timely of you to use the chicken egg analogy in Easter month here, Anthony. That's great. You guys, let us know in the comment section below, where are you currently in the Miner Madness ranking, and what is the top swag item or company you're looking for? We've got a lot of gear here in my basement, Anthony. We're looking to mail some of it out to the winners. So let us know below how you're feeling about the miners, the top company you'd love to get some gear from, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.